Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to this week's Mental Monday. Going to talk about another aspect of mental health that I experience, that I have learned, the ways in which I fall into that trap, and the ways in which I feel like a lot of us can, and why it's such an easy trap to fall into. And that is saying I'm fine when you're really not. So, in a movie called The Italian Job, haven't seen it, it's a really good movie. See it, even if just for watching the scene that has this line in it. Two of the characters are talking, and one of them says they're fine, and the other says, well, you know what fine means, don't you? Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. I very easily fall into the trap of saying I'm fine as an all-encompassing I'm good. We're moving on. Whether or not I'm actually good and I really should be moving on, I think life gets so fast, life gets so busy that it's easier to just say I'm fine, or things are fine, things are going okay, instead of saying the truth. Now, granted, in social interactions, there are better moments for bringing up a more deeper conversation like that than others. Very, very true, and very a part of my last week's video on communication. Knowing what to share and when to share it. But overall, if you get in that habit of saying, I'm fine, even when you're not, that just stuffs all of that that's in your head down further. You're not solving the issue by pushing it to the side for that moment, when that moment can turn into a lot of moments of pushing it to the side. I think the biggest trap that we fall into is thinking we don't have enough time to address it. We're probably overacting and overreacting anyways, and I don't have time to deal with this. Or the situation will do better if we just move on, whatever the situation may be. So, I love the saying fine, meaning freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional, because that is very true. A lot of the times when we say we're fine, that's what we mean. We're saying, I'm stealing my way through this, and I'm honestly not really doing that well. I think anybody that said I'm fine kind of knows the other person can see through that exterior a little bit. They know there's something else going on, especially if they know you on any kind of personal level. They can tell when you really aren't fine and you're just saying it. I know I have a lot of people around me that hear the words I'm fine a lot, and they know that means something's going on, that there's something more happening that I'm not saying. Because when I'm actually fine, I say I'm good. Things are good. And when I'm not, I say I'm fine. You can tell. There's tells that we all have for the people around us that know us. They know when we aren't really being honest and we're hiding something, or we're not sharing something that's actually going on. So I think that trap of saying we're fine is built around a culture that honestly doesn't want to talk about it. We have not created an environment where you can say anything else but you're fine. You say you're good, it's a little harder to fake. So if you say you're fine, it's a little more neutral sounding. And I think that comes from a society where we're all too busy stuffing our time full of way too many things, we also kind of have not taken the time to truly learn how to handle each other's stuff. And I don't mean in the sense of be a therapist for each other. I just mean being able to be that vulnerable and open and experience whatever that person might say if they say the truth instead of saying they're fine. And that creates an environment where the person saying they're fine may not feel like they can have any other kind of response. It feels like a blatant lie if they say they're good. But they also don't want to put the burden on the other person if they don't say they're fine. And I think there's a balance you can find in that. You can say things like, I'm fine, and not qualify it exactly, but acknowledge that that kind of does mean there's a little more going on than you're saying. And maybe that's a conversation to have at a different moment. I think constantly wanting to say we're okay, even when we're not, and be in an environment where we feel pressured to be okay is one that creates those symptoms we've seen of mental health not being dealt with, of mental health not being addressed and being minimized to a degree that you're creating even bigger problems than if you had dealt with it when it first came up. I know for me, that has been years in the making of anxiety and panic attacks and burning myself out and feeling like I'm constantly running a race that I'm never going to finish. Because all I'm saying is I'm fine and stealing myself to get through the next moment. And I don't think that can last very long. It's not sustainable. No, you don't have to have a 3-hour conversation about all of your feelings, about all of the things that are going on. But you can have a 5-minute, this is what's going on, or this is how I'm feeling, or I can't go into the details right now, or maybe I can't share any of the details. Just pray for me. Or can I have a hug? Or how about we set a time for coffee and I can fully explain what's going on. That kind of in your mind almost relieves that pressure to have an answer and also gives you that hope for a time to talk about it with somebody that you really trust and care about and you do want to share maybe. I thought that would be a great example of what I feel like is the biggest foundation for where to start with all of the mental health things that go on in our society. Being open to a conversation. Being willing to hear somebody say, you know, I'm really not okay. And letting them have that moment where you're a safe space for them to not be okay. That doesn't mean you fix their burdens. That doesn't mean you give them the best advice, but you become a place they can come. They cannot be okay if they need to, and you're there. And they know you care about them. On the opposite side of that, for the person saying they're fine all the time, stop it. Don't just say you're fine if you're not. Be willing to be a little more vulnerable, a little more honest, and even maybe a little more willing to look at that yourself. Are you really okay, or are you just saying that because you feel like that's the expected answer of you? Are you really okay, or are you saying that because you're just trying to survive this moment? And is there something underlying all of that that needs to be addressed? All of those things festering aren't helping you make progress on things you're trying to progress in. And I'm not just preaching this outward. These are things I've been constantly working on for myself for literal years. I feel like in a much better place than I was with it, but it's hard. It's very hard to get in that habit when you aren't sure maybe how the person's going to really react, if you're fully honest. And finding that balance between is this something I want to share or not? Or is this the right moment to share or not? Because sometimes when you're feeling all of those emotions, it can get a little hard to discern when you just feel like getting all of it out and you just need a moment. There's discernment in that. But you can find ways of finding that balance. Those are my thoughts on that. I thought that was a perfect example to share it with, and I hope this helped somebody. I hope this gave you a little insight. If you found this interesting and you liked it and it encouraged you, give this video a thumbs up and make sure you are subscribed and have notifications on. I talk about mental health every Monday. You can check out the Mental Monday playlist if you would like to see my other mental health videos. I am super passionate about it and I love talking about it, so you can hear me jabber on about it if you want. I mean, it's there. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!